Roxie with Roxie's Broadway Breakdown. Welcome back to my channel. And in today's tap video, I am going to give you some tips on how to learn to tap. Like if you want to start learning to tap dance, here are some basics on how to begin that journey. Let's get started. Okay, so I've said in other videos, tap is really like no other dance. You can be a beautiful dancer in all other kind of genres. I've seen it. I've seen dancers that have great technique in ballet, jazz, ballroom, hip hop, musical theater, and then when it comes to tap, they're just lost. They just have no clue how to tap dance. And vice versa, great tap dancers, but then it just doesn't transfer into other kind of dances. So tap really is its own thing. And what makes it special is you really have to have an innate sense of rhythm. I mean, obviously most dancers have an innate sense of rhythm. You really can't dance without a good sense of rhythm. But tap is something that you not only have to feel it, but you kind of also have to hear it. People can show me a step and especially break it down very slowly, but I can get lost. I'm like, I don't get it. But then I tell them, just let me hear it. Just let me hear it. And once I hear it, I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. I hear the rhythm and I know where I'm going now. But that's not how I learn other kinds of choreography. For other kind of choreography, like I have to see it. I have to see what you're doing. I have to see how you're moving. I have to see what the step looks like. So tap is very different for me. I am a much more visual learner, but for tap, I'm more of an auditory learner. So that's what I mean. Sometimes it's just its own thing. I have to hear the rhythm to make it right for myself. Tap is also, there's kind of two kinds of tap. There's rhythm tap, which is more the heavier tap, and you just have sounds to, you just manipulate your feet to make the different kind of tones and sounds and rhythms and patterns, and your tap is more loose. Whereas show tap, it's all about the presentation. It's all about the look and making it look nice, which is more like, musical theater, show tap, Broadway tap is what you think of when you think of show tap. So, various kinds of tap. I am much more comfortable with show tap. But if you've never taken tap, you do have to have that innate sort of inner rhythm. You just kind of have to feel it, the inner rhythm. And you have to bend your knees. Tap is all about bending the knees and keeping the feet light, okay? Unless there's a step for using your heels, you have to keep all this rather loose on the bottom. The knees bent and the feet up to make the tap look light. You will never learn to tap if your knees are very stiff. It's all about being kind of loose from the waist down. So, and even your ankles loose, like it's kind of a very loose dance. And then you have to really listen to your sounds when you're tapping and make sure they're even, okay? And this starts when you're really learning to tap. Usually when you're learning to tap, the first thing you learn are tap sounds. The front of your taps, okay? And that's where it begins of you learn to feel the weight of your taps and make sure they're even. And then you feel your heel sounds. So you know that from going from forward to backward, you start to feel that distribution. Okay? A forward to backward and forward to backward and forward to backward, and how it feels kind of like with your weight distribution and the evenness of your sound. And tap is also about sort of like little brain teasers and making your brain think very quickly. So you also get exercises of like, we're going to go forward taps and then heels. Tap, tap, heel, heel. Tap, tap, heel, heel. Tap, tap, heel, heel. So that already makes you start going, okay, well, now I'm just not concentrating on my taps. I'm going back to my heels. And then sometimes you'll do like tap, heel, tap, heel, tap, heel, tap, heel. So right away, you know, it really does start making your brain think of, oh, there's a lot going on, which tap is. Usually with a tap combination, there's lots going on. You've got a lot of different little sounds in a tight amount of space going quite fast at one time. So you've got to train your brain to think a lot of different things going on at one time, which is why when you are learning the basics, you've got to make sure that your feet are doing the right thing. So when you're learning the basics and you're starting to do a little bit more than just tapping and heels, and you start learning something like a brush, you've got to make sure you're connecting right with that floor. A good brush sound. Because if you start to feel like loose or you're brushing too far, you know, tap you've got to keep underneath you. You've got to keep tap sounds small. So when you learn that brush sound on either side, whichever side, okay, so if you start learning a brush and you start to feel it kind of like an air tap, or, you know, you miss it, go back and really make sure you're getting that good strike sound, because it's gonna mess you up down the road once you start learning that for like a flap, which is a brush step, brush step, brush step, brush step. Okay, same thing, brush step, brush step, brush step, brush step. Because when you start speeding those up, those are flaps, or really fast, you'll never get that if that first brush sound was not correct. Same thing for shuffles. A shuffle is a brush forward, brush back, brush forward, brush back, brush forward, brush back. And if that brush back sound is not correct, you'll never get a shuffle. Same thing on this side. If that brush back sound is not striking the floor so that when you do a shuffle, brush forward, brush back, brush forward, brush back, shuffle, 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 then you'll never get shuffles. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. You really have to get all these basics first before you can go to harder steps and faster steps, which is what steps are. So kind of keeping all those basics in mind when you're first starting to take class or watching people on the internet, online, however you're taking class, however you're starting to learn your tap, I suggest to go take class where they'll give you a full class, they'll give you drills, they'll give you combinations. But, you know, if you're learning online, I do give tutorials. There are hundreds, thousands of people that give tutorials online. But however you want to learn your tap, just kind of keep these few basics in mind when you're first starting. All right, I hope you like that. Don't forget to click and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next.